goal we're pursuing. I yield the floor.
The senator from Pennsylvania.
Mr. President, I have sought recognition this morning to comment on Senator Jeffords' announcement that he will vote with the Democrats on organization of the Senate. I have delayed in expressing these thoughts to further reflect upon them and perhaps avoid saying something I would later regret. I have written them down, which is unusual for me because I believe that floor statements, like speeches generally, are best made from the heart rather than a text. When I first heard last Tuesday that Senator Jeffords was considering this move, I told the news media it shouldn't happen, it won't happen, it can't happen. Well, I was wrong. When Senator Jeffords confirmed that he was about to vote with the Democrats, I joined 5 other senators who tried to dissuade him in a morning meeting last Wednesday. The group reconvened for an afternoon meeting with some 10 other senators and Senator Jeffords. Between the 2 meetings, we conferred with the Republican leadership on what suggestions we could make to Senator Jeffords to keep him in the fold. For 13 years, Jim Jeffords has been one of my closest friends in the Senate, and he still is my Senate. We have lunch together every Wednesday, have had lunch together every Wednesday for years, first with Senator John Chafee, and later with Senator Olympia Snowe, Senator Susan Collins, Senator Lincoln Chafee. He had never given any hint to me of such a move. Before discussing the suggestions which would be made to Senator Jeffords, we first pleaded with him, saying his change would disrupt the Senate, it would change the balance of power in the federal government generally, it would severely weaken the Republican Party, of which he was a lifelong member, it would hurt his Senate friends, and it would likely cost many staffers to lose their jobs. Senator Jeffords replied that he was opposed to the party's policies on many items and felt that he could do more for his principles by organizing with the Democrats. We then told Senator Jeffords that we were authorized by the Republican leadership to tell him that if he stayed, the term limits on his chairmanship would be waived. He would have a seat at the Republican leadership table as the moderates representative, and IDEA, special education, would become an entitlement, which would enrich that program by billions of dollars for children across America. At the end of our second long meeting, I felt we had a significant chance to keep him. On Thursday morning, I was deeply disappointed by his announcement that he would organize with the Democrats. My immediate response to the news media was that it felt like there had been a death in the family. Other senators from our close-knit group were candidly hurt and confused. For some, that has turned to anger. Most of the Republican Senate caucus has had little to say, trying to put the best face on what is really a devastating loss. The full impact has yet to sink in. It will doubtless be the topic of much contemporaneous columnist comment and beyond that for the historians. Well, the question now arises, where do we go from here? The Senate leadership, notwithstanding Senator Jeffords' departure from our caucus, has recreated a modest seat at the leadership table to address some of Senator Jeffords' concerns. More needs to be done, and I think more will be done. How should these issues be handled by the Senate for the future? I intend to propose a rule change which would preclude a future reoccurrence of a senator's change in parties in mid-session, organizing with the opposition to cause the upheaval which is now resulting. I I take second place to no one on independence voting, but it is my view that the organizational vote belongs to the party which supported the election of a particular senator. I believe that is the expectation, and certainly it has been very abrupt when a party change, although they've occurred in the past with only minor ripples, would cause the major dislocation which this one has. When I first ran in 1980, Congressman Bud Schuster sponsored a fundraiser for me in Altoona, where Congressman Jack Kemp was the principal speaker. When some questions were raised as to my political philosophy, Congressman Schuster said my most important vote would be the organizational vote. And from that day to this, I have felt that the organizational vote belonged to the party which supported my election. When the Democrats urged me to switch parties some time ago, I gave them a flat no. And I have been asked in the last several days if I intended to switch parties, and I have said absolutely not. Senator Phil Gramm faced this issue when he decided to switch parties. He resigned his seat, which he had won as a Democrat, and ran for re-election as a Republican. As he told me, his last vote in January 1983 was for the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he voted for Tip O'Neill with the view that he was elected as a Democrat and should vote that way on organizational control, even though he intended to become a Republican and would have preferred another person to be Speaker. To repeat, I intend to propose a Senate rule which would preclude a change in control of the Senate when a senator decides to vote with the opposing party for organizational purposes. One other aspect does deserve comment, and that is the issue of personal benefit to a changing senator. In our society, political arrangements avoid the consequences of similar conduct in other contexts. For example, if Company A induces a competitor's employee to break his contract with Company B and join Company A, Company B can collect damages for Company A's wrongful conduct. If A gives a benefit to B to induce B to breach a duty, that conduct can have serious consequences in other contexts which are not applied to political arrangements. On the Lara News Show on Thursday night, day before yesterday, Senator Harry Reid and I sparred over this point. I expressed my concern about reliable reports that the Democrats had told Senator Jeffords that Senator Reid would step aside so Senator Jeffords could become chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee. Senator Reid replied that there was no quid pro quo, an expression I had not used. Accepting Senator Jeffords' decision was based on principle for the reasons he gave at his news conference on Thursday morning. A question still remains as to whether any such inducement was offered and whether it played any part on Senator Jeffords' decision. Questions on such offers and counteroffers should be considered by senators and by the Senate in an ethical context. But at this moment, I do not see any way to affect such conduct by rulemaking or legislation. This week's events raise very profound questions for the governance of our country as well as the operation of the United States Senate, and I intend to press the rule change which would preclude a recurrence of this situation, and will be discussing with my colleagues the whole idea of inducements as an incentive for a party switch. I thank the chair and yield the floor.
Mr. President? Mr. President,
Senator from Nevada.
before the gentleman leaves the floor, I was off the floor, and I'm disappointed that the senator saw me here and decided to speak after I left the room about using my name on several occasions. So would the senator tell the senator from Nevada, are you saying that Senator Jeffords did something wrong in switching parties?
I have been very careful in my selection of words, and I have not said anybody did anything wrong.
Okay.
And I'm a little surprised to hear the senator from Nevada expressing some concern about the statement which this senator has just made. This is the floor of the United States Senate, and these are matters of grave concern for the United States Senate, and I have spoken with great modulation on a subject where a great deal more could have been said by me and by others.
Well, I appreciate the senator's statement. It just seems to me that if I, no matter if it was a matter of importance or non-importance, if I was going to speak about the senator from Pennsylvania, I would tell the senator from Pennsylvania that I'm going to say a few words mentioning your name. Do you want to be on the floor? And you decided not to do that, and I appreciate that. I also, it's my understanding that the senator from Vermont, prior to his leaving the Republican Party, was a chairman of a pretty big committee over here. Isn't that right? The Labor or the Health Committee?
That's true. Yeah. And one of the concerns which Senator Jeffords had, as expressed to a number of us, was his term limitation. But if I might respond to an earlier point by Senator Reid, I saw Senator Reid on the floor here. He is the Assistant Majority Leader. Perhaps I might have said to Senator Reid, I'm about to mention your name. I did so really to accommodate your statement that there was no quid pro quo, so that there had been a statement that there was nothing done in exchange for something, so that in saying that, it was not said in any condemnatory, derogatory, or critical manner.
I appreciate the senator's statement from Pennsylvania. You know, I am one of the senators from Pennsylvania's biggest fan. I'm one of the few people here probably who's read your book from cover to cover. So
that number is growing, Senator Reid.
It takes a long time to read it. I'm a fast reader. That's the reason I'm ahead of most people reading the book. But I say to my friend from Pennsylvania, I appreciate not only what he said, but how he said it. And I'm sorry if I in any way mistook the senator's statement. This is a time, as the senator indicated, of somewhat tenseness around here, and I wanted to make sure that the senator and I understood each other, which we do. Thank you very much.